Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. A major storm has erupted after the Congress government in Karnataka declared that they will remove a chapter on RSS founder KB Hedgewar from class 10 textbooks. It's not technically a chapter on him, but a chapter that includes his writing. The decision was made by Siddaramaiah government as they had promised to revise the textbooks, remember, even during campaigning, and remove, quote, contentious chapters from school syllabus. But the controversy intensified after Congress MLC B.K. Hariprasad called Hedgewar a coward. The BJP attacked the Siddaramaiah government, slamming them for disrespecting the RSS founder. Let me remind you that the chapter has an excerpt from Hedgewar's speech, and it was introduced by the Bomai government in 2021 for class 10 students who opted Kannada as their first language. The BJP had introduced these chapters as they believed that history was distorted by the previous Congress government, and those who weren't associated with the Congress itself were discarded from textbooks. Now, this continues to be a central battle between the two polities of India, in fact, world over. This particular part of history, the freedom movement, is a major battleground between the left and the right. The left has had near ironclad control over history in India since Nehru's times. Recently, a lot of scholarly work has been done, which has been hard to dispute, on several freedom fighters on the right side of politics who advocated for a more Hindu way of life and politics and future for India, especially post-independence. Most of these names, like Savarkar himself, have been much maligned and questioned. But recent academic work on their careers throws up a different outlook as well, that those who disagreed with the ways of Mahatma Gandhi and disassociated with the main movement led by the Congress were in no ways inconsequential to India's independence struggle. Have our history books, though, glorified only some and left out others? And have they glorified the chosen ones in ways where no criticism of their often faulty policies with disastrous consequences is allowed? Is it right to remove the chapter on RSS founder from textbooks in this context? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. Here's a breakdown of what's happened. The decision taken by the Karnataka Congress government has decided to remove these few chapters from school textbooks which were introduced by the previous government. The changes will be applicable from the current academic year itself, they say. A notification about the removal of the chapters and revision in syllabus will be issued within a week, is what we are told. And the decision was taken after a high-level meeting chaired by none other than Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. So which chapters would be dropped? Here's a breakdown. Excerpt of Hedgewar's speech in a chapter titled Good Role Model. The BJP says the chapter is not on him, but an excerpt on who makes a good role model from his speech. Many chapters written by Hindutva writer Chakravarti Sulibele, whose chapters titled Immortal Sons of India and Social and Religious Reformers sparked a controversy in the past. Congress has dismissed him as a WhatsApp university graduate. But that's not all. Chapters on Sanskrit scholar Bananjay Govindacharya might also be dropped. And let me remind you that B. Govindacharya was awarded Padma Shri by UPA government itself. Meanwhile, the Congress has also decided to review land allotted to RSS-affiliated organizations. The allotments done in last 4 to 5 months will be scrutinized by the Siddaramaiah government, so post-December 2022, in the last stretch of the Siddaramaiah government. The review of lands to RSS was also ordered by Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, which is something that leads the BJP to believe that this is not just about history alone, this is also about RSS per se. So this political war has broken out between the two parties, the BJP and the Congress. Here's a brief of what both are saying on Hedgewar, for example. The BJP says that Hedgewar is a founder of nationalism, but Congress has termed him a coward. BJP says the Congress government has disrespected RSS founder, but Congress claims that young minds were being corrupted because of this RSS ideology. BJP says that Congress removes whoever isn't part of their history or associated with them. But Congress says that let the BJP prove that Hedgewar was a freedom fighter first before any lesson on him is added. So let me tell you a little bit more about Hedgewar. He was born in a Telugu family in 1889 in Nagpur. He was popularly known as Dr. Ji and inspired by Shivaji. As a student, he was suspended from his school after he rebelled against the British. He was mentored by Congress affiliate and Hindu Mahasabha leader B.S. Munje, who had also later disagreed with Gandhi on his policies. In fact, Munje and others were more followers of the quote extremist faction of the Congress at the time. Fighters like Lala Rajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal, who wanted to employ more radical ways of fighting the British and throwing them out, versus the moderates of the Congress who wanted more dialogue, etc. Now, many leaders left the Congress because of this and because of this division. Hedgewar was in fact also in contact with Anushilan Samiti members, which was an anti-British revolutionary body, primarily by very young people. He joined the Congress in 1919 and participated in their activities. He was also jailed for a year for joining the non-cooperation movement. So he was very much actively a part of the freedom struggle. But he quit the Congress in 1923 amidst the differences over Gandhi's policies and support to the Khilafat movement, and founded the RSS in 1925. So is it right to remove the RSS founder from the history textbooks, or even a chapter where he is talking about how to select a good role model, or who is a good role model for young kids? We'll take that next with our guests.
BJP are so corrupt in their mind, which they wanted to infuse in the system of studies, which we are against it.
Hedgewar ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಹೋರಾಟಗಾರರು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾದರೂ ಸಾಬೀತು ಮಾಡಲಿ. ಈ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷರ ಕ್ಷಮಾಪಣೆ ಕೋರಿದಂತ ಈ ನಕಲಿ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಹೋರಾಟಗಾರರಿಗೆ ಅವರು ಮಾನ್ಯತೆ ನೀಡಂಗಿದ್ರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಯಾರು ಹೇಳಿಕೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
आरएसएस देशवासियों को दिल में है, हृदय में है, वो हटा नहीं सकता. सिलेबस से हटा सकता है. वो जो लोग सत्ता में है उसकी वजह से सिलेबस से हटा सकता है, बट दिल से हटा नहीं सकता.
This is not an astonishing thing. When Siddaramaiah became the chief minister, every time chief minister takes his total administration is vendetta. Not only regarding education. You can see everything.
First up, I want to go across to BC Nagesh, who is the former Karnataka Education Minister. And remember, the Bommai government brought in some of these changes and revised chapters. So the Congress has decided that they will remove these chapters on the RSS founder Hedgewar. They have also said that there's no reason for these chapters to be included to begin with, because he was a coward who wrote apology letters, etc., and that he was not a freedom fighter. Now, your government brought in these chapters, Mr. Nagesh. So how would you justify bringing in these chapters, and what the Congress government is doing now? What is your response on that?
First of all, I want to say you that they have not read the textbook at all. Not only read, they have not seen the textbook at all.
Okay.
They doesn't know what are the lessons we have brought in the textbooks. They want to appease some of their leaders, and they want to make even the textbook as an vote bank for them. They are playing the vote bank politics even with the children. Because we have not introduced any text on Hedgewar. We have not put anything regarding RSS. But still they are speaking like that only because, as you know that, Hari Prasad, who was the leader in the upper house, was waiting for the ministership. He continuously tried for that, but he was unable to get it. So now he wants to appease his bosses, particularly Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, etc. To appease them, he is speaking like that.
Okay.
He's a very good friend of mine, but still he wants to do some business there, so he is speaking like that.
But what will you say on the issue of Hedgewar himself? The Congress says that he doesn't deserve to be in history textbooks. So why did you bring in a chapter on him, and what do you think of what the Congress is doing?
No, again, I'm telling you, we have not brought any lesson on Hedgewar.
Right.
Still, I am clarifying to you that we have not brought any lesson on Hedgewar. We have put some content of his speech in our textbook, so people, students, while selecting the others, how should they select? That's all. But unfortunately, they have not studied the lesson. They have not seen the textbook, but they are commenting on that. You ask them the straight question, what is there in the chapter? In that chapter. Ask them what is there in that chapter.
Okay.
See, that one minute.
Right.
Yeah, no, not because of that. We had removed it. They had removed a lesson on Vivekananda and had introduced a lesson about Nehru. We removed Nehru and we introduced Vivekananda. I think because of that, to take the revenge, they are doing like. Secondly, as you know, this time people have not elected Congress, but they have selected Congress because of their false promises. Since they are unable to fulfill their promises, every day you are seeing, they are unable to fulfill their promises. So they want to divert the people to other subjects. So they are taking this as an issue.
Okay.
As you know, that Education Minister has not seen the textbook at all. But he speaks about the textbooks.
All right. I'll leave it at that. You're saying that this is not to do with what is there in the textbooks, but this is more because they have a problem with the RSS, or you're saying this is more because of the fact that they can't do what they promised otherwise, and that's why they're diverting it. I leave it at that. You're saying there is no chapter on Hedgewar to begin with. It's just about his speech and just a portion of that. Let's open this up to our guest joining us. Let me go across to our other guest joining us. Gopal Krishna Agarwal is from the BJP, Dhruv Jati from the Congress Party. Professor Geeta Bhatt is an academician also joining us, and Dr. C.B. Sharma is an educationist also with us. Let me begin with Dhruv Jati. Dhruv, you just heard the former education minister. He's saying there's actually no chapter on Hedgewar. They have not glorified him. They have not even tried to glorify the RSS. There is a chapter on how to select a role model, which has an excerpt of Hedgewar's speech on that. So why are you so anti even that speech in the textbooks?
It's not about being anti-speech in the textbook. It's very simple. Under what specific quantitative data did the prior education committee add the specific passage? Mr. Hedgewar has no relation to Karnataka in any way, and education is a state matter. If that was the case, they could have added a verse from any other person across India. Why is it just that they added it under Hedgewar? It's a reason of ideology, and this ideology that they're trying to infuse in the minds of young children is not going to work, because they cannot wake up one day and change their mind saying that, okay, we're going to add this. This is not North Korea in any way. The textbooks put together have been consistent throughout, but it was only under the last year of the Bharatiya Janata Party's leadership where this took place.
But what you're saying now is different from what your Congress leaders are saying. The education minister is saying something else. B.K. Hari Prasad is calling him a coward and saying, why should I put, there be a chapter on him, let them prove that he was a freedom fighter, etc. What you are saying is entirely different. So what is the reason for removing him?
If context to everything put together, the education minister clearly said that education is a state matter and that it shouldn't be polluting the children's minds.
So how is it polluting the children's mind? Is it your contention that only Congress leaders' statements can go? from history?
Not at all. It is, no, I will reiterate to what I said. Mr. Hedgewar's contributions to Karnataka, A, and B, the fact that they could have taken anybody's excerpts, but why so? That of a specific ideology that they've put into the textbook. And Mr. Hari Prasad has every right to have his opinions and his views. He's a tall Congress leader. If he feels so that he is a coward, then that's his opinion and that's his view. Who are we to tell Mr. Hari Prasad that he can't say X, Y, Z?
Fair enough, but I want to understand what the government's view is. I'm a little confused because now you're telling me a third thing. You're saying that because Hedgewar has nothing to do with Karnataka, therefore we don't want him in the books. So I'm a little confused. By that yardstick, a lot of people will not make it.
Shivani, not just the third thing. I think there are 200 reasons as to why Mr. Hedgewar shouldn't be added into the book, and don't be surprised if you hear more. And this is just going to pile up simply because that they brought in ideology into a picture when young children...
See, everything is ideology. Dhruv, let's not be kids. Everything is ideology. Okay? So I don't think that your argument that this is ideology per se justifies removing someone from whose excerpt of his speech is in the textbooks on a topic called who is a role model or what is a role model. But let me bring in Mr. Gopal Krishnan of the BJP. The BJP has obviously taken, huge umbrage on the fact that the textbooks are being revised, but also on the fact that Hedgewar has been dismissed as some sort of an apologist for the British government and also a coward, quote unquote. Your comment on what has happened today?
So we have to understand that what is history? It has to tell, if his logic is that only Karnataka people will be there, then why they will teach anything about Chanakya, Chandragupta and other things? That's a quite bizarre statement that I heard just now. The thing is that when there is an ideology or there is an organization which has almost more than 36 organizations nationwide and even at an international level on every field, and it has made influence on every aspect of the Indian life, whether it is Vidyarthi Parishad, whether it is Kisan Morcha, whether it is the Mazdoor Sangh, whether it is Vidya Bharati, whether it is Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, whether it is Sanskar Bharati, Shishu Mandir, all these, even BJP, they belong to one RSS Parivar which has some ideology or anything, which is ruling the country for 9 years and many states. So you don't want the people to know about that ideology. What is the purpose of the whole history if you are not telling about the things which are existing in the country? Why that is acceptable? You can say we do not, but Congress government is a deciding factor or the BJP politician. It is the academicians who have to decide what is the content of the book.
Fair enough. But you know,
one more point I want to say is that the whole history has concentrated within that period. We have a 3,000 long years of history, Indian history, where so many great leaders, even Chola, Vijayanagar, so many big empires, which were prosperous, where India was a prosperous country. That period of history is completely blackened out from our textbook, and a period where more emphasis is given, where we have been languished by the invaders.
Yes, I understand all of that, but let's not get into that because that's a very broad subject. We'll derail this debate. I just want to focus on political ideologies.
Ideology is a very prominent ideology in the current scenario.
Yeah.
People should know about it. That is the only point that here.
Fair enough. That's indeed a legitimate question to ask. So let me go across to a couple of our experts also joining us. Mr. CB Sharma, I'm coming to you. You know, this whole thing that this is so-and-so ideology and this is so-and-so ideology is not justification enough to remove anybody. You may dislike an ideology and disapprove of it, but that does exist in this country. It has a rightful place to exist in a democracy, and wholesome education will be if you hear from all sides. So this would be actually a very, very poor example to set, that just because you disapprove of somebody's ideology, you remove them.
I am pained to hear that one party comes to power and removes some chapters, another party comes to power and then includes other chapters. Unfortunately, politics has become the mainstay of, the education has become the mainstay of politics. This should not have happened. What I expected when a new government comes to power, that government will do something about development. Now, let me ask the questions. If these chapters were included, were they political decision or academic decision? Who decided to include Hedgewar and who decides to exclude Hedgewar? If Hedgewar deserves to be there, that had to be an academic decision and not a political decision. I don't think politicians need to answer this question, why was Hedgewar included?
Right.
The main issue is that because governments are not able to do any work towards development, they are not able to prove to the people that they are involving in development of the state, the people, they get into politics of curriculum.
I understand. One second. Can I just...
a University Grants Commission which decides on curriculum of higher education, and you have academics there. But school education is invariably chaired by a politician who wants to score point on political grounds, and they do it. Have you ever heard any controversy about higher education curriculum? No, because school education is the domain of the politicians. They do it and they defend it. Remember in 2004 when the Congress came to power, they removed the national curriculum framework.
Yeah.
They designed a new curriculum framework. How can you do that with a nation? I would again reiterate, because political parties are not able to deliver on grounds of development, they get into curriculum because this is a very, very fertile area to do politics.
Right. Okay. Just wait 1 second. You made a very important point that also reminds me, I think the new education minister in Karnataka has also said that the NEP, which is the National Education Policy, will not be implemented in Karnataka. But I'll leave that aside for now before we learn more on that. But Dhruv Jati, please explain. Now, why is it that when the BJP was in power, you said academicians should decide, academicians and decide. Here, the chief minister chairs a meeting and decides this all will go. Is that then not a purely political decision? Let the educationists decide?
No, quick update. What was said was that a committee was directed to be formed to look into the controversial content and that a report should be submitted within a week. Now, you had political or right-leaning figures in the Bharatiya Janata Party's previous committee, and that is Rohit, I don't know his surname, but yeah, he was a right-leaning activist who was, heading that entire committee. So where is the credibility question that you should be asking?
And who was heading your committee?
The committee is being headed by a bunch of academicians, and
so they are not leaning one way or the other, right? Because they are your committee.
Shivani, the report isn't even out. I don't think there's any reason to get so excited yet.
I take objection to the fact that you brand one person or other person as so leaning and that leaning. Again, I'm telling you, Dhruv, let's not kid ourselves. Everybody has a leaning.
No, of course, everybody is entitled to their own opinions. But my question to you is, when the Bharatiya Janata Party themselves removed excerpts of, let's say, Guru Basaveshwara, who is so renowned in Karnataka, where was the question that was asked by not just you, but different media persons?
No, I remember that we asked them questions on what grounds it has been done. It was a controversy then too. This is also a controversy. But I asked you a different question. You are saying a committee has been set up that will look into quote-unquote controversial chapters. And then a decision will be taken, right?
Yes, of course.
What did the previous committee do?
And that's the committee.
Okay, so you're saying your committee is better than the previous committee. Again, this is a slippery slope because each government will feel so. But my question is that if that is the case, why have senior Congress leaders, including the education minister, come out and spoken their mind and delivered a judgment? Then you've obviously told the committee what the government wants to do.
The judgment is that of the committee, which will decide in a week's time. The education minister is responsible for education in the state, and he has every right to come out and speak about what is best in the interests of children. And he has every right
but then you politicize the decision. Then you've already told the committee this is what we want and this is how you need to do. That's exactly what Mr. C.B. Sharma is talking about. But I'll come to what he raised in just a bit. Geeta, but your comments on the whole attack on Hedgewar itself. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, this is a long-standing issue. The Congress has often said this repeatedly, and I think they said it before the Gujarat and the Karnataka election campaigns also, that, we fought for freedom. What did you do? And they posed that question to the BJP and the RSS. So has the RSS also failed to kind of correct or revisit the narrative that you were not part of any freedom struggle at all?
You know, Shivaji, it has been very unfortunate that the heroes of the national freedom movement, they have been made part of textbooks, history textbooks, or removed from the history textbooks at the whims and fancies of the Congress governments ever since independence. And they were hand in gloves with, the communists in this. Now, you see, Dr. Hedgewar, he was, twice he had gone to jail during the freedom struggle. In the year 1921, when Gandhiji had called for, and that time he was a Congress leader, mind you, he was part of the Congress party. And for the non-cooperation movement, for that he went to the jail for 1 year. And when he came out of the jail, the contingent which had gone to receive him, Motilal Nehru was part of that contingent. And there was a proper ceremony which had happened outside the jail. There were speeches which were made, and he was, it was welcomed that he has come out of the jail, and so on and so forth. He was, you are running that clip that he was part of the, Anushilan committee, which was a revolutionary group, because he did his studies for medicine from Calcutta. And therefore, at that time, he was part of the revolutionary group. Even after that, even 1930 also, he again went almost for 1 year, he went to jail. When the civil disobedience movement was called by Mahatma Gandhi. And at that time also, he was, it was called as the Yavatmal Satyagraha, in which he had participated. So, see, now the most unfortunate part is that it is at the whims and fancies of political leaders that what happened in the history, what happened in our freedom struggle, who participated, how much one contributed, is being decided solely by politicians
alone. Okay.
So this is something
I think
which
Mr.
is very,
C.V.
very
Sharma raises a good point that maybe we should do away with this control, at least for senior secondary level for schools, and politicians should not have control over it. I think the NEP anyways makes this policy a little bit more seamless than what it is right now, because Dhruv very rightly said it's a state subject, so the state governments should have a right to decide what is taught. But unfortunately, we cannot view history from just a state's perspective, and then on top of that, political perspective. But Dhruv, very quickly, please respond.
Shivani, can I make a quick point?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Shivani, read
I also want to
the
say
Secondary
something.
Education Commission report, which was on secondary education, and the commission strongly recommended that education of school children, the teenagers, cannot be a subject of states. They are national citizens, and the nation must decide. Unfortunately, we have ignored that comment. We only accepted Radhakrishnan Commission, which was on higher education, created the University Grants Commission, which prevails. But in the school education, we still say it is a state subject, which should not be. We are ruining the career of children by making school education an agenda of politics just because it is in the concurrent list.
Okay, fair enough. And I think the NEP kind of does look into this because it looks into it from the 10 standards onwards. But I'll leave that aside for now. Dhruv, the larger question that the Congress faces is that if the person is not associated with you, disagreed with Mahatma Gandhi or the quote-unquote moderates of the Congress at the time, as I mentioned earlier, then they can be discarded. I mean, for the longest time, it is argued that the Congress didn't even give Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose his due, just because that was Nehruvian politics. Dhruv, that is for you.
I didn't get your question, Shivani.
I'm saying that for the longest time, the Congress is accused of ignoring those who were not part of mainstream Congress, even congressmen who disagreed with, let's say, Mahatma Gandhi's policies. And even somebody like Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, it is argued, was not given his due honor for the longest time, even though he was a congressman, just because Nehru disapproved of him.
Not entirely true. You must look at the syllabus that was formed in 2013 when the Congress party was in power in Karnataka, from Netaji to Nehru to various leaders who actually fought for freedom were put into the textbooks, and they were in fact a part of the education system put forth together. Let me remind you one thing. The whole revision of the textbooks was an election issue as well. The Congress party reiterated it multiple number of times. If the people of Karnataka were so unhappy with, let's say, such type of decisions, then I don't think they would have voted the Congress party to power. It's as simple as that.
No, fair enough. I am not questioning that. You have all the right to make this an election issue and fight an election on it. I have no problems with that. but you fought on other issues also. There are questions being raised on your guarantees, for example. That's another debate for another day. Mr. Agarwal, you wanted to come in. How does the BJP plan to fight this? Because, you know, the problem is that the BJP obviously wants to revise, quote-unquote, history of India, make it more Indic, and obviously give due to others who have been left aside. But you've not done anything with Indian history books for the longest time when you've been in power.
No, Shivani, we just want to tell that history was written. There is a consensus among the historians and other people also that history had a bias for certain people, their agenda and their own political interests. So, and they had left out many of the portion in a history which India has a 3,000 years old history. Everything cannot come. You have to select some part and leave something. But you have to give weightage to everything. But what last point that I want to make is an organization, an ideology which has such a prominence in the current scenario. You may agree with it or not, but you cannot completely blacken out.
It's not really about who's in power now. I feel that at the time during the freedom struggle, there were several strands and all strands should get their legitimate place.
Yeah.
Young students should be able to understand
Even
that there wasn't any one way to fight the British. There were multiple people doing multiple kinds of things and all of their contribution can be recognized without demeaning one or the other. It doesn't take away anything from Mahatma Gandhi, for example. But there were others too who had their way of fighting the British. So you can't just, you know, brush everything else under the carpet and say, no, there was only one strand of freedom struggle. It wasn't so. And all of us are learning that. In any case, I've run out of time. I do thank our guests for joining us. This is an interesting debate and a larger debate about history and control over it in India.